Hello, and welcome to Back Bay Mission's special series of interviews for National Volunteer Week. I'm Christopher Marlin Warfield, the Church Relations Associate at Back Bay Mission, and each day this week we're posting an interview with one or two of our most dedicated volunteers. To hear all of the interviews, please go to our website, thebackbaymission.org. Every year, Back Bay Mission has about 750 volunteers from across the United States join us in Biloxi to work in our ministries. While they're here, these volunteers work in our housing rehabilitation program, in our food pantry, in the Micah Day Center, and with our sister organization, Loaves and Fishes. Just as importantly, they also have the opportunity to meet with the people we serve and learn about the issues that we address. Some volunteers come for a week, and some stay for months. Some are highly skilled, and others are learning to do new things. Some come once, and some make annual pilgrimages to the Gulf Coast. And we are grateful to and thankful for all of them. Today, I'm sitting down with Jeanette and Terry Tangeman from Wapakoneta, Ohio. Jeanette and Terry are both retired and spend a lot of their time volunteering. Terry is the Northwest Ohio facilitator for the disaster ministries of the Ohio Conference of the United Church of Christ. Jeanette is in charge of a community meal, open to everyone, that serves between 300 and 450 people each week and served about 17,000 meals in 2013. They've been coming down with church groups since the early 2000s, and started coming as long-term volunteers 4 years ago. So, Jeanette and Terry, how did you first start coming to Back Bay Mission, and why did you decide to become long-term volunteers?
Well, I'm a retired United Church of Christ pastor, and before I retired in 2003, we had a mission mania where they invited 125 people to come who hadn't been here in the last 3 years. And since at that time the mission dorms were small, they didn't have enough room for everyone all the time. Our church had never been here, and I had heard about Back Bay Mission from my parents, and my sister-in-law had worked here years ago, and all through my growing up in our church. So I wanted to bring my congregation folks down. So we came down with 31 people, and participated, and I am still bringing some of those same people today. Then when we experienced Katrina, we were on my retirement trip, and my spiritual director had a church in Metairie, right outside of New Orleans, and we came down to help him repair his church. From that time, we've probably made 20 more trips, both to New Orleans and to Back Bay Mission, because we fell in love with the people, the ministry, the area. We just, it grabbed our hearts, and we have been coming ever since. About 4 years ago, we decided to become long-term volunteers at Back Bay, and we are up to 3 months. That's our limit. I have grandchildren. But we love it, and we look forward to it each year. We think of it as our second home.
Excellent. Wonderful. In your roles as a volunteer coordinator and construction supervisor, you work with a lot of the groups that come to the mission on mission trips. How have you seen groups change during their time at the mission?
Well, I'm the construction supervisor, and it's very interesting. When they first come Monday morning, everybody's all fired up and ready to go. A lot of them have never been here, so they don't know what to expect. And a lot of them just come down with the idea of building a home or painting a home. And little do they realize what they truly get out of the mission that Back Bay's involved in. I believe it expands their knowledge of what actually goes on in towns that they never realized was going on with the underprivileged and the underserved people and the homeless. And so I see a change from day to day.
Excellent. Wonderful. Jeanette, do you have anything you want to add to that?
When they first come, I always ask the new ones, why did you come? And the ones that are here from before, why are you here again? And sometimes, they can tell you a little bit, but by the end of the week, they can tell you for sure. Most of them say, I'll be back. And most of them say they got way more out of it than they were giving. And I think that a lot of spiritual deepening also goes on from the things that I hear people talking about.
Mm. Now, you had mentioned before that you've been down quite a few times, and you've both been to the mission many times, and you've worked in the different ministries that we have. How have you seen yourselves change due to your experiences with us?
Well, I'm sure I've changed a bunch over the years coming down. I was never involved in mission work until Jeanette and I were married a little over 9 years ago. And she told me about Back Bay, and we came to New Orleans. And I've been hooked ever since. We're from a small town, so there's just not the problems in the small town with the underserved that there is in towns like New Orleans and Biloxi, Mississippi, and other areas down here. So it's been very eye-opening to me.
I think for me, when we started coming, we were all involved in the construction end of it. And one year I had tendonitis and a big boot on my leg, and I tried to do construction the first morning, and my body objected. And so I was able to, I went into the office and asked if there was something I could do for them, and they asked if I could use a computer. And I could. So they were in the process of changing over and needed a lot of things put into the system. So I sat right at the registration window and worked for the week. I thought I knew what they did at Back Bay, but after that week, I really do, because I heard the stories, I saw the people, I saw their faces, looked into their eyes, and it was an amazing transformation for me and a growth time, because I learned that, as they like to say around here now, it's all more than hammer and nails.
Yes, indeed. When we've spoken before, you've talked about the ecumenical and interfaith connections that you've seen at the mission. And that's clearly something that's very important to you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when the first time we came down here after Katrina and we're working in Biloxi, we saw truck after truck with different churches and denomination names, etc. And not once did anybody ever ask or care about the type of church you went to, or who you were, or the color of your skin. And nobody cared except that they knew you were here to help. And we helped no matter what was, we never asked about churches or color of their skin or cared or anything either. And to me, I always tell people I think I saw a glimpse of the kingdom where everybody just is equal and everybody is working to do God's work. We also have brought people from many, many denominations and religious backgrounds with us in our groups. And everyone just works together. It's wonderful.
Excellent. Wonderful. What would you say to people who are considering volunteering with the mission for the first time? What should they know to help them make that decision?
Well, that's easy. I would tell them to get out of their comfort zone and try something that they will find very, very rewarding and guarantee you that they'll be back. The mission, the people that work in the mission, the staff are so caring about their jobs, so compassionate, and the passion they have for Back Bay mission shows. So it's a great place to be.
Excellent. Wonderful. Jeanette, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think she said exactly how I feel. It's the type of ministry that is here, and I just always encourage people to take part in one of the wonderful ministries of our church.
Excellent. Wonderful. Now, you've both told me that you have heard from the volunteer groups that you've worked with horror stories about volunteering other places, and that the mission is very different from those other places. And we don't need to, get into the specifics of what those horror stories are, but what do you think makes Back Bay Mission different in that regard?
Well, I think a lot of it is the staff. Well, it's probably all the staff. And like I say, the passion that they have for it. We try to make the volunteer experience very rewarding. On the construction site, we try to have everything in order so that they don't have to wait around for a job or for material to do the job. So I think that's what makes Back Bay Mission different from a lot of others that I've been on.
I hear the word disorganization an awful lot when they talk about other places. But Back Bay's been here long enough to get organized, and it is run in a very organized manner. And I think that people really appreciate the effort that goes into that.
Finally, what would you say to someone who's just learning about Back Bay Mission? What is something everyone should know about?
One of the things we always say is you're never too old, and there's always something you can do, or we will teach you to do. I think a lot of people think about building houses and doing those kinds of things and think, wow, I can't do that. I don't have those skills. Well, most people that come down here don't have every skill that we need, but we're very good at teaching, and they always go home very happy that they learned to handle some new tools, some new skills, whatever. And we're creative with folks who may come that may be physically challenged. We still have things that they can do. Really, our goal is to always have something for everyone that wants to come. And I think that is part also of being a ministry, so that people are not afraid to come.
Excellent. Very good. Terry, do you have something you'd like to add to that?
No, I think she's pretty well covered it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for all of the work that you do for us and all of the volunteering that you do for us. We really do appreciate it. And thank you for joining us and letting us know and sharing a little bit about your experience with the mission.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Chris.